So that bid's gone out, the bid outline, and you've had those discussions with the carriers to talk through all of the documents and the requirements that are in that bid, and now they've all come back, right? And now you got to measure those bids. So remember that team in the beginning? That awesome team you have of your freight people, right? And your finance people, and your warehouse people, and your customer service group, and your purchasing group, and IT. So they're going to be really happy with you if you're leading this project, and usually it's the transportation logistics team that is. So that initial data you grabbed, shipment data you grabbed actually had what you're paying today for those shipments, right? So now you're going to take all of the carrier bids, and this requires an analyst, which most folks have on their teams, but you're going to need an analyst then, and somebody who can work really well with data, and they're going to take all those carrier bids and they're going to rate every single shipment which each of the carriers bids, okay? So now you have all this raw data, and you've got every carrier that proposed pricing, and you've rated every shipment with the carrier's bid. You are then, and we call it a freight profile, you're then going to have that analyst prepare some initial looks of those bids, right? So you're going to want to see, maybe it's by mode and by proposed carrier, how the rates stack up to the current. And maybe then you want to see, by mode, by carrier, how the transits stack up versus the current. So there's all kinds of, we call them looks, but have that analyst provide an overview of how these proposals come back. And that you want to get in front of this team. So that team you've developed from the beginning, and you've been keeping them in the loop throughout the process. It's now time for that big team to get together and review the results of the proposal. And remember how we were talking about how daunting this bid outline is, and then vetting those carriers before you send them a bid, and gosh, this is so much work. Guess what? You've just saved yourself a ton of time, because there's not going to be a whole lot of back and forth with the carrier about service and price, because you've done all the due diligence up front. So I go back to the car analogy, right? So you want to buy a truck, and you sit in that car dealership, and that poor salesperson walks back and forth to the fake boss to negotiate. That's done. It's over. You've put yourself in a position by doing it right that you're now not in this whole back and forth scenario. Now you may find you're going to go back for some things, but for the bulk of the results of the bids, you've got much of what you need. And when I say you may go back for some things, maybe you needed a pallet exchange program, and the carrier who has really good transit and your customer loves didn't give you one. Well, now's the time to go back to that carrier and have that strategic discussion around, we've got a really good opportunity to work together, but there's just this one thing that we need to revisit that could be a problem at awards, right? And so it sounds easy, but it's difficult. And having the good data and a good analyst to really give you these looks for this team is super and super important. But you're now at the stage where you can start making some decisions of who you are going to award this freight to.